what is the right amount of money to save into a 529 account if you want to be able to pay for an in-state 4-year college education? That's a good question. I can maybe start by taking a shot at this one. I think it's a little hard to answer this specifically because we don't know what state this person's in and what they're thinking here, but I can maybe talk a little bit more generally. So I have 4 kids, so I'm desperately thinking about this equation, and it's not adding up. Historically, college expenses have been going up at about a pace of, I've heard 5 to 7%, maybe 4 to 6%. I think you could use sort of some factor in there just to gauge tuition costs. And I think I love 529 plans. I think they can be a really good investment vehicle and can get you some good tax savings. But you also have to be careful with 529 just because there is flexibility on spending that money or passing that on to other people or to other children. In my case, I have multiple children to pass it on to if we don't use it for the first child. But I would say you also don't want to oversave into that vehicle, because if you take it out before it's used for college or for something other than college, you can be subject to a penalty as a part of that. I think that's, again, where you would want to look at tuition costs, look at how much that could grow to. I think there could be some changes down the road in how much college costs. I think colleges are starting to experience that kind of breaking point in some ways for how much it costs versus the value and that sort of thing. And with virtual learning and the other options of post-secondary education options or going to a community college, there are ways to bring that overall cost down. So it's hard to give us a very specific answer here, but I think you want to think about generally not overfunding it, but putting a good amount in there and trying to figure out what are the other options that are available to you if you're planning to send a child in your state, so that you can start to begin to use that top dollar tuition amount, which most people don't pay because there's usually some sort of a discount for people, and the other options that could drive down that cost and actually make your burden a little bit smaller. Anything you'd add, Heather, to that?
Yeah, and I think what you said was spot on, Bjorn. You don't want to overfund, but the good thing about 529 plans as they have evolved is you can pass them down to other siblings. So if you do by chance overfund the oldest 529 plan, you can transfer those to some of the other siblings. They've also opened up the parameters around contributing to a 529. If you're going to go to school in Illinois, you don't necessarily need to contribute to the Illinois 529. And there are resources that allow you to compare cost and performance and a number of things about the 529 plan that make it easier these days for parents to make decisions. And lastly, it's a great gifting tool because anybody can gift. This year it was $16,000 per individual. You can also accelerate that and do a 5-year contribution at $80,000. But any individual, grandparents, aunts, and uncles can contribute to 529s.
Totally. Yeah. I keep asking for my parents to contribute to help with that, but maybe someday. But I love the fact that others can give to that. They've made it so easy, and those contribution limits are super high.
Yep.
You can really get some help funding that. So that's great.